Okay, we're live, guys. Yep, we're live. Okay. So don't be overwhelmed. You'll find like a lot of people who hate you, guys. That's fine. That's okay. Don't take it personal. They just hate PayPal.
I'm sure it's for good reason.
Yeah, for good reason. Let's hope. Yep, we're live. Comments started coming. Actually, I did a mistake. I don't know why. I can swear that I set it on 4 p.m. my time, and when I went in today, I found that it is at 6. I was like, what? So I had to change the timing. I hope that they caught up with the new time, but that's fine. They will see the replay and they can watch it again. So you all can see the comments on the right side, right?
Yes.
So guys, if you can just like, if you have any comment, just do it in English. This should be easier for everyone. Emma, you cool with the presentation there?
Yes, I'm good. I can't see the comments because I'm projecting as the full screen. And I found a quiet place in my house, which is the balcony. So
yeah, that's right.
If any comments, please call it out.
Actually, we're not seeing the screen yet. You have like to click a button there, share screen, and then you have to like to download something. Hey, HM.
Hi, Yousef. Hi, all.
I think it should be good now, right?
Yeah. That's good. Let me add it to the stream. And we can start, guys. The mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Yousef, and everyone. Just to maybe set the context, this is the team Middle East and Africa at PayPal, who is responsible mainly for the merchant services. There are merchants in the region. On the call today, we have a good number of folks from the Middle East and Africa team, including our director, Yousef, who's based out of Singapore as well. And we are going to start with him just basically opening up to basically just to welcome everyone, and also at the same time just to give an overview of where PayPal is heading to, what the current business environment looks like, and maybe if it's touching on the increased demand on our services in light of due to COVID-19 lockdowns. And Ayush, on to you.
Thanks, Emra. And before I start, Yousef, I definitely want to thank you for hosting us and giving us the opportunity to reach out to this wonderful dropshipping community. I understand that there is lots of reasons to hate us, and like I mentioned, probably for good reason. But hopefully, I think for us, the objective of this session is really to hear from the group and see how we can kind of address some of the issues which the community has been facing and what we can do to improve our services as we better serve this community. But just before I get into it, I just wanted to start out by acknowledging that the world around us is dramatically changing in the face of COVID-19. There is a lot which has happened in the last 2 or 3 months, and everyone is living through a fundamentally different world. And especially for the dropshipping community, Feb was a pretty bad time as supply chain kind of completely came to a freeze in China, leading all the way up to mid-March. But at the same time, what we've seen is since March, there's been a huge surge in global demand, and that is directly correlated to how countries went into lockdown, especially in North America and EMEA. And we do recognize that there is a massive surge in orders and demand going on. But at the same time, we know that given the changing world order as well as dynamics, there have been a lot of actions from PayPal during this time, which were initially through the supply chain disruptions and now around price gouging and hoarding, especially when it comes to PP&E equipment. But at least what we want to do is really share guidelines in terms of what good actors in the dropshipping community look like versus bad actors. And at least I am personally based in Singapore, and we have a very vibrant community in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong as well, similar to Middle East and Africa in the dropshipping community. And we've made significant strides as a company in terms of how we work with dropshippers. I think the big learning for us has been that all dropshippers are not the same and can't be painted with the same brush strokes. So really what we want to do, and Nimra will walk through the presentation, is really highlight how we are changing and how we are evolving and how we want to become closer to the community and work in a more collaborative fashion. So maybe Emra, over to you.
Thank you, Ash. Thank you very much. So as Ayush mentioned, we are just going to go over some of the new figures and what we have as PayPal to offer. And at the same time, we do hope to streamline some of these incoming inquiries from existing merchants, dropshipping merchants in the region by having a dedicated point of contact to try to solve those issues, but at the same time, a dedicated point of contact as well to help onboard and streamline that onboarding process so there's a smooth go live with PayPal and the support that's needed. And with that, I'm just going to share a couple of slides here in a couple of ways to show what we can do as PayPal to accelerate the growth for the dropshipping community. So we believe the dropshipping community being basically a cross-border business for the most part. And a lot of the successes, as you know from your previous session with Yousef, and if you attended some of his seminars, the value of selling into some of the larger digital economies in the world, be it North America, be it Europe, where PayPal actually has significant presence. And we have various offerings in these markets. So on the consumer side, we do offer our branded wallet product, which is with increased conversion rates and so on, which we will get into. But we do also offer the consumers a credit option in the US, UK, and Germany as well. Venmo is a very hip and an upcoming PayPal product that is only available in the US, but it is loved by our consumers in the US. And we have the Honey acquisition that we recently closed to increase engagement within our consumers. And on the right-hand side, we do offer our payment gateway to merchants that are based outside of our region, that are large enough to have an entity outside. We have a hyper wallet offering for payouts, Simility for fraud management, and also Jetlore for commerce, contextual commerce. And with that, I just want to share you how we closed 2019, and these numbers are significantly increasing, and I'll just go over very quickly. So we closed 2019 with 305 million plus customers worldwide, of which 25 million of them were our merchants. Having this 25 million merchants, a transaction that we process is over 12 billion transactions a year, of which about 46% are done on mobile. But the main thing that is important for the dropshipper community here is the checkout conversion rates, which is, to be honest, second to none. It's 88.7% where it is today, end of 2019. And we do offer our services across 200 countries, allowing to process in 100 plus currencies. And just wanted to give you a bit of a comfort, about 27% of our 2019 volumes were done on a cross-border basis. So this is a business that we are very much aware and we have the experience in, cross-border commerce as PayPal. So some of the global players that we currently work with, and some of the local names that you might recognize are on the left and on the right side of the screen, where we work with literally the top brands worldwide. But also we do work with some of the top brands in the Middle East and Africa as well. So it could be airlines, which is predominantly cross-border business, conglomerates in the Gulf area, from consumer electronics to fashion. So this is a wide range of large enterprises on the right-hand side that you see from the Middle East and Africa. When it comes to our main value to the dropshipping communities is, like just briefly touched, we are a global payment system that will allow the dropshipping community to scale their products and offering. We do offer the high conversion rates for our merchants by allowing to skip a lot of the fields that are required to be filled on the traditional checkout flows. At the same time, it's always in our interest to improve these conversion rates on behalf of our merchants by working with banks and card issuers, introducing some products like tokenizing, allowing one-touch type of a payment experiences for our consumers and our merchants. We are available across, we are very agnostic. The integration works across all operating systems and all devices. So if one integration is done or enabled in the backend, and all of a sudden you're live on Android, iOS, any kind of screen size, and you could actually use our invoicing products as well as our regular standard checkouts. And we do enable, obviously, a lot of the growth into our main corridors, be the US, UK, Germany. These are the large e-commerce, digital commerce markets that we have a very strong hold and a strong consumer base. So we either have about 30% of the market, 50% of the market in any given market. And it is a simplified business, like I said. We do want to make sure that you are safe as a merchant, as a seller that does operate in a cross-border nature. So we make sure that there isn't a lot of these new development requirements. We make sure that we provide a seller protection. So in case of a chargeback or fraud, we do take on that liability upon ourselves, obviously with some caps, but we do provide seller protection. And the balance that you incur in your PayPal account could then be spent to pay for your hosting, to pay for your vendors, and so on. And we do have obviously customer service. When it comes to the worldwide, and just to break down real quickly, US and Canada are our largest markets, with 135 million active consumers, and Europe comes second with 115 million active customers in the European Economic Area. And the rest is basically a majority part of is clustered in Asia Pacific, where Australia holds the significant portion of that. And when it comes to Latin America, about 10 million plus active customers are based in Latin America. And like I said before, the cross-border is nothing new to us. And we have done a lot of research on cross-border, and some of the insights that we'd like to share, which we believe will help out how you set up your business and how you look at dropshipping. So it is very important for a cross-border transaction, consumers for a secure way to pay, because they really don't know the merchant brand as they do with the H&Ms and so on. They do want to be protected, so PayPal buyer protection comes in really nicely. They do want to process payments quickly. It could be happening on a mobile experience where the friction is a bit of a conversion killer. They do tend to rely on trusted brands. A PayPal brand is serving in a sense a stamp of security and trust on any merchant's website. And people don't want to, obvious reasons, don't want to share their financial information with a cross-border merchant that they don't know the brand. So these are some of the consumer preferences for cross-border commerce, which PayPal value proposition fits very nicely. When you look at the traffic and conversions, this is a big part of the success looks like. So the conversion, e-commerce conversion, it's about 2.72% across the industry. And what you could do to improve these low conversion rates that is by nature a part of the e-commerce businesses is PayPal, where you don't require customers to put a lot of the financial information, fill out forms. So we do allow a very quick and fast checkout process, improving the conversion. This is more true in dropshipping because a lot of the products that the community sells are very unique by itself. So it is an impulse purchase rather than purchase that is heavily researched online and days after, hours after a decision is made. This is a very impulse purchases where a quick checkout is essential when someone is interested in buying your product, so they could actually make the payment and move on. The PayPal presentment, so it's actually increases the willingness of order consumers to shop at a given merchant, be dropshipper or be any of the merchant bases. And it's very evident in the data that we see is from the users. They do not like to shop with unfamiliar merchants, and they do have a concern, understandably. When it comes to cross-border, a lot of consumers are hesitant of shopping cross-border, so you need to give that trust, and PayPal comes into play there. And a lot of the consumers are moving to the mobile channels. Anything you do on your website needs mobile optimized and mobile ready. This is some of the conversions on some of the key communities, some of the key markets that the community is targeting these days. So US, UK are our largest markets per se, and we do enjoy some of the highest conversion rates in these markets. So US, our conversion rate, checkout conversion rates is 88.7% compared to 48.7% with a competitor. UK, that's a bit higher at 89%. And the list goes on. So any given market, give or take, we provide almost the double conversion rates to a competitor product. And there's a good reason behind it, because this payment is cross-border payments is what we do day in, day out. So we always work to improve these conversion rates. And with an introduction, we do obviously own a lot of the consumer franchise. So we're not the typical sense a credit card processing company, as we do have that product through our Braintree product. But for PayPal transaction, you do need to have a PayPal account, so we own that consumer franchise. So we can drive a lot of these consumers to our merchants that we work with and deliver some positive experiences. And shopping in store is one thing, but online with cards, it's much less. So shopping in store, it's 63 to 80% is unplanned purchases, where online with cards is about 20%. And online with PayPal, there is a big boost, about 30% are unplanned purchases. When it comes to conversions, some of it are first-time buyers. So we do drive a lot of first-time buyers to our merchants channels and so on. So we do tend to bring these new incremental business, incremental customers to our merchants. We have a one-touch PayPal offering to allow our consumers who are opt-in to one-touch, meaning that they keep their PayPal session open on a given device, to make a payment very smoothly and very quickly, and enjoy some of the highest conversion rates again in the US at 88.7%. Mm-hmm. We also do offer some marketing solutions. So we do offer some of the data and insights to our merchants to work with and fine-tune what you need to do, which corridors you need to maybe focus on as you see more interest and traffic from the markets. We do engage, we do encourage merchants to offer some marketing campaigns. If any abandonment happens on a given transaction, we do give some ways to reach out to that consumer and try to win that sale again. So it's in our interest that a successful transaction happens on your platform, so that PayPal actually benefits as much as everyone else, the consumer and also the dropshipping community as well. One of the final things about PayPal is we pretty much integrated to a lot of the third-party channels, be WooCommerce, be Shopify, be Magento, GoDaddy, and we are constantly improving our offerings in these channels. And it's a simple enablement rather than an effort to integrate PayPal into your sites if you are using one of the 1,900 plus partners we have worldwide. And about the Middle East and Africa, specifically on the dropshipping, we were talking about this right before the call. We do understand there has been some challenges within the dropshipper community in the Middle East and Africa in the last couple of years, the last 18 months or so. And there is an understandable concern about this, but there is also a justification to some of these things, where not every single seller, dropshipper is doing everything as they should sometimes. And we do want to call some of those things out on this call to make sure that we use.
Sorry, Emma, because I just need to state that this is very important from this slide on, guys. And believe me, the PayPal team here came today just to make it up and to try to understand everything. So let's try to be helpful to show them what went wrong, what is like the problems, and we'll have like a final QA at the end. So keep your questions for the very final stage. Now focus on this thing, because this will help you enhance your business and to do it like better to meet the requirements. So yeah.
Exactly. So that's the main idea about the call, as Yousef mentioned. We do want to let you know how we look at the dropship community and how we look at a good seller, a good dropshipper versus a bad dropshipper profile. And that is kind of fair, right? Because you do want a good profile merchant to be onboarded to your platform, as we offer these seller protections and buyer protections. And this community, including PayPal, we should not allow bad apples to kind of jeopardize our business, your business, for all of the good ones who are doing it the right way. And some of the examples, what we mean by that is basically this slide, which we should focus on. So a good seller profile for us is someone that has a strong financial performance, right? Someone that is profitable to an extent. They don't have high debts, and good cash position in case something goes wrong can still fulfill these orders. Because coming back to it, we do give the buyer protection. So if you do not fulfill these orders, PayPal ends up picking up that bill. And obviously, this is something that we would want to avoid by identifying a good seller profile with red flags that the seller might be showing. The business model should make sense for us. So we do look into what you sell. We do look into where you supply these goods. And if it is Amazon, we do look at the credit rating by Alibaba of that supplier. Because at the end of it all, you're going to ship that, or that end product will be shipped to our consumers. And if there's something wrong with it, we are going to be the ones who are going to refund that and kind of deal with it. The shipping part is also very important, because the fulfillment timelines tend to be a bit longer in the sense of this community. So we do look at the high percentage returns, if there is, and that's a big indication of a red flag for us. But we do have a solve for it. As recently, I don't think a lot of the community was being integrated this way in the past, but we do highly recommend going forward to be integrated with our tracking APIs, which allows us to monitor where the good is and what's happening with that fulfillment of that order. And that's a very good comfort that's provided to PayPal if you can integrate with the tracking APIs. The product itself also is very important, like I said before. It has to be in line with our brand guidelines. It has to be at a fair price, because anything that, again, goes wrong with that specific good is going to come back as a claim, charge back to us, and it's going to jeopardize your relationship with PayPal. And not only with PayPal, but with financial institutions that we're working with. Again, the last thing that we do look at is the chargebacks. So if you have very high chargebacks, that is a big red flag of something is not being done the right way. And obviously, we either would not want to work with that specific merchant. Again, that's not only for the dropshipping community per se, but across all of the merchants. So this is not something specific for the dropshipping community. You could be a large enterprise with a high chargebacks, and that's something we might just walk away from it, because we take on that risk of refunds and so on.
So just before you move ahead, I just want to make one comment.
Sure.
And I think it's fairly important for everyone on the group to understand that PayPal, the reason why our consumers use us, our 325 million consumers, is predominantly driven by the fact that we provide buyer protection to them. So in case there is any fraud, or they don't receive the items, or they receive items which was different in terms of quality or not as described, we compensate them in full. And I think one of the reasons why PayPal has taken a very aggressive risk stance in the dropshipping community in the past is because we've had negative experience with a few sellers who either took on a whole lot of orders which they did not deliver, or they delivered poor quality products, or they went out of business without being able to fulfill, or they did not have any customer support in place, or they did not deliver goods until 2 months without any communication to the customer. So I think that was one of the reasons why we took a very risk-averse approach to the vertical earlier, and you were hit with a lot of limitations, reserves, etc. But one of the things which is important is that I think we've also over time realized that there is a clear differentiation between good sellers who are really focused on doing the business the right way versus sellers who are in there to make a quick buck and just disappear. So I think what we are trying to communicate here is that we are really back to work with all of you in this, and we really want to help the industry as well as continue to improve the seller profiles and help the community create sustainable businesses. And that's really where I think the biggest difference is with PayPal now versus where it was in the past.
Thank you, Harsh. Well said. Well said. I like the part, obviously we don't like the business models where, for the ones that are after a quick buck, right? And that's very well said. And what was it before and where we are today, specifically on the Middle East and Africa perspective in dropshipping, is that before 2020, I'm sure you could all relate to this. You had a very hard time of getting a dedicated point of contact. And I'm not sharing Ayusha's email here, but you do have 3 dedicated point of contacts within specifically the Middle East and Africa team to basically help you address any questions, any concerns. If you do want to work with PayPal, streamline the onboarding process and do it the right way. And that statement goes for any drop shipper which we parted ways with or disabled PayPal for a good reason in the past is now can be onboarded again, which actually can be looked to be re-onboarded again. We just have to make sure some of the guidelines are met. And those are the second difference. There wasn't any clear guidelines before 2020 for the dropshipping community. 2020, there is a questionnaire that we're just going to show you right after this. There is a very clear guidelines, a questionnaire that we do want to collect upfront so that we have all the information, make a judgment call on a specific merchant by our underwriting team or compliance team, whoever needs to make that judgment. And when we do come back to you, the approvals are there. There are no surprises unless there is a significant change, negative change in your business. You know what you are going to have with PayPal for a longer term rather than these one-off type of 6-month durations, and you get limited trying to help you resolve that. And it's hard to do without having a dedicated point of contact. So we do have some clear guidance now for our dropshippers in the Middle East and Africa. And there's a questionnaire that is developed, ready to be shared with you or whoever is interested in working with PayPal. Thirdly, a lot of you are starting off with our standard published rates, where we do have a customized contractual rates, given that your business is above a certain volume. And those contractual rates are obviously discounted preferential rates, just so that we keep our margins low for the ones that are actually doing large volumes today on their platforms. Back in the days, before 2020, we actually had a lot of these reserve issues, and reserves are still here. It's not that reserves are not there anymore. That said, there's a difference between what type of reserves any merchant will be looking at, right? So it could be 10% over 30 days, it could be 100% over 30 days. And there's a big difference of that in your cash flows. And a lot of that information in the questionnaire with the help of a dedicated point of contact within the team. And you could make some of the concerns, you could ease some of the concerns that we might face internally by doing a tracking API integration, for example, where we are, after 2020, in 2020, in a better place to get more preferential reserve conditions on some of the good dropshipper merchants. And finally, we do finally understand as PayPal, not everyone in a specific vertical is the same. So having a dropshipper business model where it was seeing something borderline of being very, very high risk is right now not there. So we had a very low risk appetite before 2020, but today we're looking at it as a very custom look. And we do want to identify the good sellers versus the bad sellers and want to hold their good sellers' hand, allowing a smooth process, giving them a red carpet treatment as much as we can. So we do realize that finally not all the dropshippers are the same, and there's difference, and just up to us to identify those good ones versus the bad ones. So one of the things that we will be looking at as part of that questionnaire once you share it, the questionnaire asks a lot about your cash flows, about what you sell, what type of integration you have, and who are your suppliers in a sense. So the documentation that we will share for the merchants who wants to be onboarded is actually going to address these 5 important topics. Once we receive it, we are going to look at your financial health. If you are not going to be in business 3 months down the line, why start that work and relationship today? We do that by getting 2 years of financials, if you have. If you don't have 2 years of financials, which is understandable, and a lot of the newcomers, we at least need a 3-month bank statement to show the solvency of the business is there. So the financial health is very important here. And finally, what type of again, coming back to again the tracking APIs. What can we do by using the technology and the integration to give the PayPal underwriting team some level of comfort in fulfillment of these goods and services? And finally, who are the suppliers is very key. And your alternative payment methods or other payment providers is also very key to us, because if you have high chargebacks on credit card transactions, well, that's going to be somewhat in parallel with PayPal as well. If you are working and supplying from a low-rated supplier wherever in the world in Asia Pacific, well, that type of items might end up causing our buyers discomfort, can lead to claims and chargeback, which is something that we want to avoid. So those are the 5 pillars that we are going to look to review in the questionnaire, which looks like this. So what we do collect is, please provide obviously the name of the company, some basic information about the business itself. Then the business model. What are you expecting from PayPal? How much volumes are you looking into processing? So yeah, you do about $1 million a year. How much of that would be with PayPal if PayPal would be enabled? Be that you'll increase the business with PayPal with incremental sales. As the consumers see PayPal, they would be more willing to shop from your platforms and your sites. So that 1.5 million increase, for example, how much of that would be driven by PayPal? The URLs, you have to go look and see what type of products that you sell. What are your main suppliers, for example? Where do you supply your goods? Are they good suppliers or bad suppliers that we as PayPal had bad experience in the past, which we know a lot of those as well. And shipping is another key part. Who are you shipping with? Is that DHL, FedEx? How long does it take for an order to be fulfilled, for example? Risk metrics. So what are the current performance of your credit cards? Do you have high chargeback rates today with your cards, which would be the case with PayPal as well? And we would like to address that. That doesn't mean that we would not work with a specific dropshipper merchant, but it just means that it might be with different conditions. It might be that higher reserves for a longer duration time. And finally, the financial performance is key, where we are looking for your financial solvency being there. Meaning, again, if you are going to disappear in 6 months, those are not the type of relationships that we want to build, and we want to build a longer-term relationship. And I'll stop there. Yousef, please feel free for the Q&A.
Okay, so I just need to summarize what have been said until now, especially the previous slide. Can you go back, please, to the previous one? No, the previous, the one prior to this. Yes, exactly. No, the yeah, this one. So, guys, I'll do the translation actually afterwards. I'll probably make a live and do it in Arabic just to let you know what happened here. But let me do this in English. So as you know, this was like the case before 2020 or before even this call, this live. You had no dedicated point of contact. You couldn't contact anyone, as everyone knows. There were no guidance for you guys. There was no tolerance, to be honest. And now this team here, this wonderful team, is trying like to change with the community. And this is what they offer in after this school or in this school. So you have 3 dedicated points of contact. And I already told Emra if the community are being able, like, they can contact those guys, and they say, yeah, they are dedicated for you guys. If you have any problem or if you had any holes in the past, you can contact those 3 PayPals or any of those PayPal. I think any of them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We will get the right team. We will get the right team involved.
So you have someone like to contact now and to see what's up. You also have the new understanding that all dropshippers are not the same. Before, it was a kind of arbitrary decision for everyone. If somebody from country X did a mistake, they would look at country X at the same way. And now they're starting to understand that they need like to treat every separate customer as the business model says, or as he does in his business, because not everyone is the same. So there's definitely like a lot of things that have that are changing in PayPal now, guys. Yeah, don't be surprised to be asked for financial statements, company details. I know, guys. In such countries, like in third world countries, to be honest, this is something very hard to gain or to obtain, those the companies. So don't be surprised to see such things, or people surprised to be asked to get company details, because most of those guys start from nothing. They start from their own PC, open a PayPal account, and start selling without any company, any taxes, anything. So I'm asking the community, my community, and all the Arabic community. We need to start like changing this, because most companies, not only Stripe, not only PayPal, sorry guys, require this. So we need like to start changing the way we look at businesses, the way we manage the business, because this is if you want like to stay in business and not get out in 1 month or 2 months, as they said, quick buck and that's it. So I'm gonna start, like I always tell you guys to do this, and I'm gonna be with you to show you how to do this properly. Hopefully, like understanding. I know where the frustration is with those guys, because I saw and you saw a lot of comments, and some of those comments, if they're right, I can't justify. I don't know why this happens, but most of them say the money is held for 180 days. Then no money. The money is taken. And I've seen like a lot of people that had 0 disputes and had the same thing. They showed me. They actually showed me after I said we're gonna be live with PayPal. So I kept this for the last, because there is definitely something wrong in the system now, and we're gonna try to see what went wrong and try like to fix it, because I can see why you saw like a lot of negative comments, and I told them don't be that negative, because we're here to try to fix things. But most of those guys had money in their PayPal accounts, and after the 180 days hold, they lost the money. They couldn't retrieve the money. So I don't know if you're aware of this, or if you have any explanation for this kind of thing.
So, Yousef, I am very surprised to hear this, honestly, because we haven't come across these cases in the past. But if there are any of you who've encountered this issue or who have experienced this, please feel free to reach out to the 3 contact points listed on the slide. And we will definitely ensure that we will investigate with our teams and get back to you with a response.
شباب عشان احكي لكم بالعربي بسرعه، اللي عنده مشكله بهاي ال 180 داي يسوي واحد من الايميلز هذول يبعث لهم وبيحكي لكم انه they will investigate. And it's clear now. Are we done with the slides? So we're open to comments. Some of the comments.
One comment, Yousef, before we move on to the Q&As, is 2 comments actually. One of them on the 180 days holds. A lot of those cases, when it happens, usually related to the product itself, that it is against the brand guidance of PayPal, or there's something wrong that we identified with the product, or we felt that it was something wrong with the product, and that might lead to longer duration of the time for us to hold on to that funds. So that's one comment, but there are obviously, I'm sure, some cases that we might have made a mistake, and we would like to fix those and correct those. Obviously, we don't want to hold on to anyone's money. It is a cost to us to hold on to anyone's money, just so you know. And the second thing is, just as you rightfully said, a lot of the companies are looking into financials, and that's more true in post-COVID world, where the financials are key these days. But don't be nervous if you don't have the 2 years of financials. Like I said, like we stated on this slide, is that we could mitigate some of that document. If you don't have the 2 years financial because you've been in the business for 6 months, can you get us a 3 month? Can you get us a 6 month bank statement? Something that we could actually take back to underwriting team and kind of really help. So I don't think that no financial meaning no business.
And sorry, just also one quick additional comment on the financial statements. I think this is not intended for people who are just starting out. This is for people who are processing above a certain amount of volumes annually with PayPal. So this is not for someone who's just starting out and is making their first sale. They don't even have a company or registration, but the expectation is as you scale, as you start doing $200,000, $500,000 volume a year, that's when you would establish a company. And it's only in those cases where the financial risk for PayPal is material that we actually go ahead and do underwriting. So this is not intended to be focused on dropshippers just starting out on their journey, but more mature dropshippers who've been in the business for a while now.
Perfect. So guys, again, if you're starting, you don't have to provide those 2 years of financial statement. As Emra also stated, you can do the 3 months bank account or whatever. But if you're starting, you're just starting now. You don't have to get overwhelmed with those requirements. But so as to know, you will need to provide this at one point. So you need to do this all properly, not the old school way. This is a lot of comments I see from this kind. So what is how do you decide to do the 180 days if there is no disputes, as this guy says? And I saw that some people had 0 disputes and still got their money held. So it's about confusing what is the things required to do a hold on something.
So maybe I can just kind of walk through more broadly limitations and holes and issues which kind of arise. But basically, the most common form of limitations which most people get is really to do a KYC with PayPal. And usually there are multiple triggers for that, which could either be in terms of balance reuse. So based on regulations, as soon as someone reuses $5,000 of balance in the PayPal account to say, for instance, pay Facebook or pay their logistics suppliers or to pay on AliExpress, for instance, or their suppliers, that usually triggers a KYC. So as soon as you reuse $5,000 or send $5,000 with PayPal, then there is a KYC requirement where we need to verify your identity. So that's the first and foremost form of limitation which most people get hit with. Then usually above and beyond that, because there are always velocity checks. So if there is someone who starts out with PayPal today and suddenly does $100,000 in the first 15 days with PayPal in volumes, then usually we are not sure whether it's a good seller, bad seller. And like I mentioned, we carry the liability for those transactions because we don't know whether the goods will be delivered to the end customer or not. And usually in those kinds of cases, we want to know the customer and we place limitations that until we understand the customer, we don't really allow withdrawals. And then what kind of limitation which usually happens or restrictions, which is the 180-day restrictions, even though there might not be disputes or issues, is usually when there is suspicion that this might not be legal activity or there might be violations of copyright issues and so on. Those are usually the cases where we have harder restrictions where it's not in line with the terms and services of PayPal as well as Visa and MasterCard and the other schemes. So typically, if there is counterfeit good being sold or things like those get detected, then in those cases, there is usually a hard restriction for 180 days. But these are usually the three primary restrictions which people will encounter. And the easiest is just asking for more information to verify the identity. The second one could be more to do with that they have suddenly started doing a lot of volumes. So we just want to understand their financial strength and make sure that they actually have the right supplies in place and they have the ability to deliver the goods. So just to verify that they are good sellers. And then there is a third kind of limitations, which is where we know that they are violating policies. And so those are typically the cases where there is a 180-day hard hold, which is applied. And maybe, Emre, if you want to add on more to this.
Sure. So, I mean, rightfully said, Ayush. I think the expectation should be set a bit correctly, right? I think we all fall, and including myself, into the trap where it's so easy to open up a PayPal account and start your business right off the bat, right? And get a reach to a large global consumer base. And that ease of enabling that business to start selling online and to accept payments then creates, I guess, that false belief. Some of that requirements that financial services require is something that we will not require. So what I mean by that is we make it very easy for you to kick off your business and start selling, which is our main goal in the beginning, because that's your main goal. If you were to go to any financial institution to get a process there for card payments, just think about how much of a hardship you would need to go through and how much documents that you would need to sign. So the ease of enablement is there, but that should not bring a false expectation to the community where as you scale your business and process those higher volumes and anything about $5,000, $10,000, when you get to that initial steps, we do want to know who you are, and that's a fair ask, right? So we do want to know, which company, if you have a company, what is that company? Where is that company registered? Are you really that company itself? Because we do need to settle that money into that company's PayPal account to be now withdrawn to that company's either card or either bank account, depending on where you are. I got the chance to read some of the questions too, so I'd like to touch base on some market-specific things as well. And as you grow, the exposure due to the buyer protection that we provide to our global base, which is the reason why they want to, a lot of the consumers they want to use us, that kind of requires us to get some sort of a comfort on financial situation of the seller. So, initially, you're free to get on board, start selling, you have a great product suite, please go ahead. But as soon as you start to succeed, you need to know who you are. Second thing is, as soon as you start to grow into something much bigger that this is becoming a professional business for you now. It's not that quick buck anymore. Then we do want to know what you're selling, if you can fulfill these orders, because if you can't, then we are the ones who's going to pick up that bill, right? And maybe to touch base on some market specifics. So PayPal doesn't have anything against any country at all. So just to give you a context, where I am based today, we don't offer PayPal services. I'm based here, and to be honest with you, there is no reason why we would not work with one specific merchant or one specific market or another. We're not a non-profit. We are all after making a profit. So we do want to enable services everywhere, where we can. The only thing is it's about prioritization, where we have to kind of, look into, is it China or is it Tunisia, or is it not a specific market examples, but so that's the part that always all companies, every company looks into. But that said, rest assured, Ayush on the call, and you could basically confirm we do want to work and service as many consumers, customers, markets as we can. Some of those markets, Algeria was a specific case, Visa card, and same thing for Egypt. Visa card is a requirement to get your funds out, but it is due to the fact that that's how we were able to launch some of those markets. That was the capability that we were guided to launch that specific market. So unless we did it that way, we weren't allowed to launch the market. We are working to improve, just so you know. But in due time, just bear with us. I know some of the markets that are mentioned is a long, long time, and it is dear to my heart, many of these countries. But just bear with us. We are looking at things differently after 2020, as we said, not only for the dropship community, but across our international markets. So there's more focus on international markets, emerging markets nowadays than before.
Mm-hmm. I have a question. Actually, first, let Echem speak. Echem, can just say hello for the guys.
Hello, everyone. Like our teammates said, we are here to help you whenever you need us. And already we have received few emails, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Scary.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot. I have actually a great question. It wasn't. I think it wasn't in the comments, so it is from me. And let's get this clear. Should they be worried? Because now, when they say, "Hey, are you a dropshipper?" when they get this email, it is very scary. It is very scary, and they don't want to admit that they're dropshipping. So, should they be worried to say they're dropshipping? And what's the best dropshipping practice PayPal is looking for in some short guidelines? Because getting, hey, are you a dropshipper? It's like, hey, are you a thief? This is what they think. So I always tell them, guys, PayPal knows that you're dropshipping. You don't need to hide. But here is some good guidelines you can do as a dropshipper. And this is what I want to hear from you guys. What is the best practice they can do in some short guidelines before we go over some of the questions about countries and stuff?
So maybe I can start, and Embra, Jim, please feel free to add on. So I'm not surprised, Yousef, that people struggle to even reveal themselves as a dropshipper to PayPal. And that to a large extent is our fault, right? And if you ask me personally, I think honesty is always the best possibility, because one way or the other, we usually will find out that whether an individual is a dropshipper or not, it's not super difficult. I mean, in most cases, you can look at the website and identify whether someone is a dropshipper or not. And I think this is also part of the reason why this conversation or starting out this dialogue is important, because being based in Singapore, I've seen the Southeast Asia dropshipping community as well as the Hong Kong dropshipping community go through exactly the same process. That initially when we started out, everyone was assumed to be a bad actor, and there was a taboo in terms of being identified as a dropshipper, and that was usually followed by termination of their PayPal account or very high reserves. As a lot of you have highlighted, and have experienced. But I think it's important that we all engage well, and we are also trying to build awareness that this is a very legitimate business model in the Middle East and Africa support community within PayPal. And really, in terms of drop shipping, if you think about the end-to-end payment experience, not the end-to-end payment experience, but just the end-to-end experience of a customer, I think there are a few things which are important, right? That they're getting good quality goods, they're getting it in a timely manner, and they have the ability to reach out to the merchant or the drop shipper as required and get some sort of customer service. So typically, just to achieve this, it's very important that um, there are very good quality suppliers which are being used, who have high quality rating on Alibaba, who are well recognized. There is reliable shipping suppliers which are being used, but usually not use the China Post option, which is the cheapest, but may deliver in 60 days, or if it delivers at all. Or there is also the consideration that there might be no customer service, because we've had instances where dropshippers have sold a lot beyond what they're capable to handle from an order volume. They've got a lot of customer inquiries, email complaints, but they just didn't have the capability or the bandwidth to handle. So it's important that you only scale up your business as you install capacity and you have the customer service to actually service that segment. And then when you kind of combine all of these together, it's also really about making sure that you have a sustainable business model and have the right marketing ratios. Because if you are spending 80% of your sales volume on marketing, there is no way the business is sustainable. So really ensuring that there is a right mix and people are testing the products, they're starting out slow before they kind of add fuel to the fire and grow the business inordinately. So I don't know, Yousef, whether that answers your question, but I did speak a lot.
Actually, it's important for them to understand that it's not a shame to say I'm a dropshipper, just like to do it properly. This is what I want them like to change and to start like doing this properly. Another question that a lot of them are struggling actually with, because I know in Morocco, I'm not sure if you are familiar with this issue, but the government has a limit on how much they can withdraw from card or spend. I think up to $2,000 a month. So this is actually a big hit with their cash flow. So what they tend to do is link it with a Pioneer card, or I don't know if there's other options like virtual cards. And this is the way they pay for the goods. So this is a governmental issue, and they used to solve it with Payoneer. I know that no more you can connect a PayPal account with the Payoneer card, as I know. So is there any solution for this thing, and especially like in Morocco, because I think Algeria as well, but I know that Morocco there is a monthly limit on the how much you can spend by your card. So even if they send to their bank, it won't be like the solution. And that's why you see a lot of people want to connect it with Payoneer, not because they want to skip the bank and they don't want to do this formally, but this is like the only way they can do it. Like with those limitations, you can understand that they don't have a cash flow. So is there anything like to offer or to fix, especially that Morocco like is a very big community, online community. So here they say it's a 1,500 a year. So this is actually bad.
So typically, what we recommend, Yousef, is a combination of different things. I think the first thing is that when you look at the outpayments which most dropshippers have, the majority of the spend category is really with Facebook, the Shopify apps, and then of course paying their suppliers for the goods as well as the shipping. And PayPal is really accepted at most of these places. So you can pay for all your Shopify or whatever platform plugins as well as subscription fees there are. You can pay for Facebook marketing. And at the same time, you can also pay your suppliers in China, usually all of them accept. In addition to that, we are also continuously trying to optimize the withdrawal methods we have. Today in Morocco, we only have withdrawal with Atija Wafa Bank, but at the same time, we're looking at alternate sources to expand our withdrawal capabilities. But for people who are facing issues, why don't they reach out to us and contact us, and we'll work with them to figure out a withdrawal option.
Perfect.
I actually started receiving some emails, so that's
you receive a lot of emails. You'll be trying tomorrow.
Same here.
Yeah, you'll see like a lot of cases. Actually, a lot of cases. I know a lot of guys. This is what I told Emra. Like before I went to Morocco, I thought that because like you see that there's a lot of scammers in some typical countries, and Morocco sadly is one of them because some people tend to do some bad things. So this is the stereotype I had, and when I went to Morocco, I saw like a really great audience and community that does all the freelancing, all the online community. There are wonderful people, and this is why I started like to fight for those guys, like to make things better for them. And I really want you guys, if you have the option, and after the corona virus and stuff, to have a trip actually to Morocco. Those guys will give you the best welcome, the best parties ever. So, and then you can like to get familiar with those guys and see that they are willing to sell. Probably 2% of them who do some bad practices, but they spoil the part, all the rest, which is a pity actually. So I'm happy you guys here and you're connecting and you're talking to those guys, because one other thing that is very highly frustrating, they have no support at all. So if they get something wrong, they only have those automatic emails that solve nothing and only like mess your head more. So to be able to contact some real people and to know that there is somebody there who's gonna take care of your case, especially if your case is true. Like if you have really some hold money without any reason, somebody has to look into this and see what's wrong. So again, I'm so happy we're doing this today, and I thank you a lot, guys, for dedicating some time for the community. And I know, like at the end, you'll both be beneficial. They will get you a lot more money, because I know some people doing even 7-8 figures in that community, and they're trying to find some other options to do this other than PayPal, because they had like a lot of limitations and stuff. So hopefully at the end, everyone will be beneficial. And I don't know if we have any more. How many times you still guys have? I don't want to.
You have time.
Yeah,
if there's more questions, we will definitely have time.
So I actually want to get some of the comments. I'll take some bro comments. Okay, because this came a lot of times. There are 2 countries that are asking for 3 countries: Lebanon, Palestine, and Tunisia. Can anyone tell me some broadcast about those countries? Palestine, Tunisia, and Lebanon.
So we do really appreciate the interest from these 3 countries, and we've had multiple outreaches from these countries. Like Emra mentioned, we are constantly evaluating expanding our footprint into newer markets. I think one of the challenges is always the regulations in these countries, as well as our product ability and capability to expand into these markets. So while we don't have a firm timeline, do trust us that we are overwhelmed with the interest from these countries, and we continuously keep evaluating them as the next markets to enter.
Mm-hmm. That comes from someone who really knows geo expansion in these countries, because
That's
is a
awesome.
very
That's
good
awesome
deal.
news. Yeah, so that's awesome news because and a lot of my people, like in Palestine, the West Bank, and even in Gaza, they're struggling. And I know that there's a lot of things they can add, but they're struggling like to open and start the businesses. And in such countries, you can expect like the most of sales to come from such countries because there are hard circumstances, and that's why like Morocco is giving its best. Also, India, India is one of the best in freelancing. That's because of the circumstances. It's so hard to live there, and they are looking for other ways like to make money, and online is the best way to make money nowadays.
Yeah.
So this is a funny comment. We are going to be multimillionaire very soon, guys. So consider them, guys. Consider them.
Certainly.
Yeah. Let's see.
I can definitely tell.
If you see any good comment, just tell me. We can put it.
So about the withdrawal parts, we're looking to expand a lot of that. A lot of comments coming in for how do you get your balance into a bank account and into. So Morocco, you're right. It's at the Jerry Vafa. It's our partner bank. So is there any limits that we're not aware maybe on a yearly? Because the limits on a withdrawal to a Visa cards, it's not sometimes something set by us in some cases. It might be the issuer. It might be the guidance, right? So we have to take a look at per country why that limit was in place. Because again, going back to we want the whole business. We want everyone some $1 million essentially. Unless we did have a guidance from the issuer or the regulator, or so be it, that might be the reason. MasterCards and Visas. So Visa is the only one. There are more coming. So I'm not sure about Pioneer. I don't want to comment on Pioneer, but other schemes are in the works.
There is like a lot of questions from Nigeria coming, and there are my peeps as well. So let's just like this, and if there's any answer for this one, I'm not aware of Algeria's issues with PayPal, to be honest. I'm sure you know more than me. So here, PayPal Algeria, we can't use the balance credit to pay. I'm not sure if you got.
Same thing in Egypt. Yeah, I saw that comment. Same thing in Egypt, and it is guidance. That's how we are able to service the country.
Yeah.
We are working to improve it for the case of Egypt, for example. But this is the first time that I'm actually seeing a request for Algeria. But of course, if we can, we would love to remove any limitations like that, if possible.
Will you risk to banned accounts? You have like to contact them and see if you have like the right to get your account back. I'm sure there won't be an issue if it was mistakenly closed or something. But you have to be on the right side, because if you have like a lot of disputes, a lot of stuff, they won't be able to return it, to be honest. So my suggestion is email them and see if you are eligible to get your account back.
Absolutely. So we would like to correct anything that was done previously. We would love to correct it or guide some of the merchants in the community to do it the right way this time, maybe in some of the standards that we have.
Is there any way to reduce the PayPal transaction fees?
Absolutely.
So I think I just want to highlight that typically the way PayPal works is that we have tiered pricing in each country, and those rates are published on our website, and people who are doing above those volumes can definitely go and apply for the tiered pricing. And people who are exceeding the tiered pricings which are available on our website, we also definitely have custom pricing which is available. And so on a case-by-case basis, we can have a discussion with people who are above the published tiers. And maybe this is something which we can also share with you, Yousef, after the call, and if you can circulate it within the community, the links and guidelines in terms of how to apply for tiered pricing.
That's awesome. So yeah, guys, I think after this call, we're going to be in touch with the team And every time there is something new, we're gonna share it with you guys. I'm sure slowly we'll start like to build some I don't know, some better customer support for Arabic region, where you can find rates, where you can find where to contact, and you need to prove as well that you are willing to change, to get things better. Again, not only the team, but also the community. To get a better understanding of how dropshipping goes, of how to be a better dropshipper. I always tell them like to check the quality of the products, to have a superior customer support, to know all of this, because we're willing to change here and we're willing to make life better and easier for both of the sides here. So yes, the answer is there is an option to reduce the transaction fees.
Yes.
Can I transfer money? We answered most of those recent ones. Let's go up a bit.
So you could be throwing Morocco into a euro account.
Is there an option for this thing?
So not into a European bank account, but you could be thrown to a Euro bank account without the Jirafa. So if you are selling to a European corridor, you could be thrown as euros without the Jirafa. That said, another question was around the language support. So unfortunately, I hate to say, we don't have in this team anyone who speaks Arabic, other than Yousef. That said, we do have a very large team in our support functions that do speak Arabic, literally every single one, almost 20 people. So the supporting languages are French, English, and Arabic.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot, Yousef, for this question. Yes, why not PayPal are not offering extra MasterCard accounts for Arabic users? Is there any plan to offer this in such countries like in Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, which can solve actually a lot of problems of withdrawal that we stated before?
So we do have the capability globally, Yousef, and this is something which we can definitely evaluate for the region. This had never come up as an ask before from our customers, and clearly we haven't engaged deeply with this segment. And so it's good that we're at least getting these feedbacks. Now, these capabilities are not things which we can introduce tomorrow, because they have usually long development cycles, but this is something which we can pick up and take back to our internal teams and bring it up for prioritization, and hopefully this is something which we can expand relatively quickly.
This can solve a lot of problems for those guys. Like, you can't imagine how many problems is solved by offering this thing. So
absolutely, it's here now.
Consider it if you have like the option to do this in such countries, because this can solve like a lot of problems. Here is a technical question that could come up in those. Can we start without a company, and after a few times when we get first sales we create the company, or you'll ask us about company document from the first sale?
So I think, like I
stated before,
mentioned, they can start slow, and as they scale up and volumes are beyond a certain threshold, that's usually when we ask for any company related documents whatsoever. So this is more for mature dropshippers who are doing maybe $300,000, $500,000 of sales a year. But as you're starting out, usually this is not a requirement.
Awesome.
I do apologize that I need to drop off, but really appreciate Yousef, you hosting us, and
Thanks a lot, Ayush, for your time. We really appreciate it. Despite all the negative comments you had before,
absolutely.
but stay positive that everyone wants to change and everyone's want to make this right, because you know, it's a dual kind of relationship. PayPal needs the dropshippers and dropshippers need the PayPal. So
you were expecting
again, on my behalf and on my community's behalf, we all thank you.
Thank you. So really appreciate you hosting us, and
it was a pleasure.
They can still continue to take a few more questions.
Sure.
Thanks a lot, Ayush. Have a great day.
Ayush.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so guys, we'll have a couple of questions more, and I think we're all good. So I saw something here. Do you have any point? We have a problems PayPal limit. Moroccan PayPal. Is there any option this could be possible?
So we could definitely look into this case. We do want to penalize anyone who's impacted by COVID, and part of that, what we're doing is we're waiving a lot of the fees that are related to chargebacks if these claims turn into chargebacks. So please let us know what that limitation is through the email addresses that we provided. More than happy to look into it. We understand it's happening worldwide, so we're well aware.
Well, I think that would be it, guys. I know we had a 1 hour live session, and we are 20 minutes ahead of this. No, beyond this. So thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the whole community appreciate it. We probably have a Q&A session like afterwards. I'm still fasting, guys, because so I started to get a bit dizzy. So yeah, I think we're done. Again, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Alper, Tahir, Emra, and Echem. Echem, I think Aisha is the name, right?
Ejam.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not Aisha. It's not the nickname of Aisha. It's a different name.
I don't know that. I haven't heard of it. Is it?
No, those are like two separate names.
Oh, two separate names.
Yeah, those are two separate names. Ecem is a very Turkish female
Yeah,
name.
it's a very Turkish name.
Yeah.
Well, teşekkür ederim. Çok teşekkür ederim kardeşim.
Shukran.
İyi günler. I used to speak Turkish when I used to travel. Now we're so stuck.
Yeah, true.
One last comment for the community who's just watching us now. Any type of limitations that they are having right now, please do not hesitate to reach us out. We would be happy to take a look at your account, see why there's a limitation, and talk with the team internally and try to solve it as quickly as we can.
Thanks a lot, guys, honestly. And now that they know who to contact and they have like a point to reach out to, that's very valuable for the community, I'm sure. Well, thanks a lot again.
Thank you, Yousef.
Have a great day, and I'm sure we'll be live again soon or something.
Thank you, Yousef. Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
سو يا جماعه بتمنى تكونوا استفدتوا واخذتوا الاشياء الايجابيه، اكثر شيء الاشياء الايجابيه، وتعرفوا كيف بدكم تسووا البزنس تبعكم بشكل مضبوط. هلا مش بس للباي بال، كمان الباي بال لسترايب، لكل البزنس تبعكم. اهم شيء هذا الشيء. راح نضلنا بكونتاكت معهم. زي ما انتم شايفين الناس حابين انهم يتغيروا. بعرف انه الباي بال كثير ناس عانوا منه وسووا لهم مشاكل بحياتهم، بس ان شاء الله انه يكون في هذا تغيير للاحسن. زي ما انتم شفتوا بالسلايدز هلا اللي بدي احاول اجيب السلايدز واحطها كمان الفيسبوك عندي. عم بيحاولوا انه يسووا جهدهم عشان يتغيروا. عشان هيك قلت لكم ما تسوي كومنتس سلبيه، كل شيء ببين مين احنا هون بالكومنتس، بغض النظر شو وليش معنا حق انه بكل شيء، بس بدنا نفرجيهم الجانب اللي منيح منه. لانه بتعرفوا في اكم من في اكم من سيلر هم اللي بعطوا الفيدباك المش منيح عن كل الكوميونتي. يعني احنا هون عشان نحكي ايش شو اتفقنا، الحلقه بايبال، الحلقه سيري. ف هدول يعني بتعرفوا انتم كاي شركه، يعني هلا البايبال على سبيل المثال انت جالك $1,000,000 بالسيلز، وبالمليون دولار صار في عندك كله ديسبيوتس، مين بالاخر اللي بده يدفع الاشي؟ يعني بالاخر اذا البايبال سلمتك $1,000,000 مين بده يدفع اذا بلش ديسبيوت؟ هي البايبال. فعشان هيك في عندهم كثير ميجرمنتس عاليه. بعرف انه في مرات بكونش معهم الحق، وعشان هيك احنا بنحاول نوصل لهي المنطقه. المهم انه هيهم سلطوا عنا الرؤيه، سلطوا علينا الضوء بالكوميونتي تبعنا، عرفوا انه في مصاري عم بضيعوهم، عرفوا انه في ناس مظلومين. وكنت معهم انا من وقت ما قلت لكم على الموضوع اللي شهر معهم بالايميلز، بحكي لهم قديش هم ظالمين الناس عندنا بالكوميونتي، وقديش بنحاول انه نظبطهم. قبل ما كان في ايميلات بدهم يعطوا، قلت لهم ما بنفع، ما بنطلع لايف الا لما تخلوا في ايميلات، مش بس بنسوي لايف والله بتيجوا بتثبتوا حالكم تحكوا كم من كلمه حلوه وبتروحوا، ما بنفع. لازم انه اذا في مشاكل الناس اللي بيقدروا اللي بشوفوكم انه يقدروا يتواصلوا معكم بمحل. وعشان هيك زي ما انتم شفتوا حطوا لكم 3 جابوا لكم اياهم. كان اول شيء بحكي مع امرا اللي هو مسؤول عن كل المنطقه بتاعت الشرق الاوسط ونورث افريكا. هلا صار في عندهم 3 بالتيم اللي هم يقدروا ياخذوا الايميلات تاعونكم ويتواصلوا معكم كمان. يعني مش بس انه يطلعوا يحكوا لنا كلمتين ويطلعوا، ما بدنا هذا الحكي، بدنا برضه انه يتواصلوا، بده يحلوا لنا المشاكل وهي الشيء. شكرا هند عشان حطيت الايميلات. هي الايميلات شباب، اللي ما شاف اللايف من اوله يرجع يشوف اللايف من اوله، ممكن اول 20 minutes بس انه يفرجوا على البايبال وهيك. برضه هم في حطوا نمبرز كثير منيح تشوفوا قديش الكونفرجنز ببعض الكونتريز وهيك. بس الاشي ببلش اظن بعد المينت 20 اللي ببلش يحكوا عن المشاكل وكيف انه لازم يكونوا الدروب شيبرز وقديش بيطلعوا على الدروب شيبرز وايش هم الاشياء اللي لازم يكونوا بالدروب شيبرز انه يطلعوا عليهم. لازم اروح، انا دخت لساتنا صايمين. انا بعرف كنت حاطط الفيديو على 6 بس طلع على 4 بتوقيتي وصار في عنا اختلافات، مش مشكله. اللايف راح يضلوا سيفد على الفيسبوك، تقدروا ترجعوا تشوفوه باي وقت، واللي ما شافه واللي شافه بعدين عشان نفكر انه قبل بوقت ولا بعد بوقت ما يزعلش مني، اي موجود. ان شاء الله كله خير، وبشوفكم انا باللايف الجاي ان شاء الله. هيك بس افطر واظبط وضعي، يمكن او الليله او بكره اطلع اسوي لكم سمري اذا بدكم عن اللي صار مع البايبال. وبالتوفيق شباب. اللي عندهم مشاكل مع البايبال عندكم 3 ايميلات، احكوا معهم، ابعتوا لهم. في ناس هلا هدول ممكن يرجعوا لكم اذا باند يور اكونت از باند، ممكن يرجعوا لكم اياه. في مجال هذا الشيء، مش بس طلعوا بعبعوا وانصرفوا، ما في بدهم يتابعوا معكم. ذاتس ات حبايب قلبي، ونشوفكم باللايف الجاي. سي يو. يوسف كان معكم، وداعا للحلقه. الله يلعن ابو الحلقه.